Frank, could you mute your line, please?
From the dreaded mute button mistake to a revealing Zoom call.
The whole team can see your upper thigh.
Hybrid work is here to stay. A survey of CEOs found just 4% say they'll prioritize getting workers back in the office full-time this year. Bosses more interested in keeping their workers happy than keeping cubicles staffed 9 to 5 from Monday to Friday.
Sounds like somebody's got a case of the Mondays.
Welcome back to the Future of Work Weekly Report, where we make sense of the chaos and occasionally call BS on the headlines. Today, remote work, not the rage, not the panic, but the routine. Because the biggest employer survey out there says we've settled into about one remote day a week, and it stays that way for years. Translation: hybrid isn't a trend. It's the new plumbing of the workplace. Most headlines quote worker surveys or badge swipes. It's useful. This one asks employers about policies and practice and how it actually runs that layer. Key takeaways: roughly 1 day work from home per week on average. And the 5-year forecast, basically the same. Calm is a data point.
Frank, could you mute your line, please?
From the dreaded mute button mistake to a revealing Zoom call.
The whole team can see your upper thigh.
Hybrid work is here to stay. A survey of CEOs found just 4% say they'll prioritize getting workers back in the office full-time this year. Bosses more interested in keeping their workers happy than keeping cubicles staffed 9 to 5 from Monday to Friday.
Sounds like somebody's got a case of the Mondays.
The pandemic ushering in a shift in how and where and when we work. With unemployment near a 50-year low, CEOs are desperate to retain talent.
Their bigger fear is losing good workers, not getting them into the office.
Absolutely, as it should be, because good workers are the key to driving financial results for your organization.
Each industry is a little different. Banks brought back workers 5 days a week early. Amazon told staff in November they need to be in the office 3 days a week. So did Meta. But UPS wants office workers back full-time later this spring. After all, the drivers can't work from home.
Like, why are we doing this?
On social media, plenty of griping about going into the office at all.
There's just so many options out there that don't involve people going back to the office.
But the dream of 100% work from home is fading, much like the dream of 5 full days in the office. Nearly full-time remote work has plummeted from 34% in 2022 to just 1% last year.
Get back to work.
Back to work for many in 2024 will mean getting back to work at home and in person for good.
Okay, so, Christine, what if your boss says to you, I don't care, you need to be back at your cubicle 5 days a week, no questions asked? Do you have any recourse?
You got to bring the numbers. You got to go armed with the numbers, how your productivity is up, how your sales are up, how you've managed to meet these deadlines or beat these deadlines, and how working from home a couple days a week has actually made you more productive. There are a lot of very good workers in a lot of different industries who don't want 10 commutes a week anymore. Childcare costs are high. There are a lot of different things. I feel like the pandemic the tide went out and we realized we were all swimming without a life vest. So we need to give some flexibility is what people want, what workers want, and bosses don't want to lose them.
Everything in moderation. I like the hybrid idea.
Yeah.
But there's something to be said. Like, when you're not in the workplace, I think you're missing out on a lot of opportunities, especially for younger workers.
And also there's equity issues. You know, companies have to really work hard to make sure people are being fairly promoted and they're being fairly, monitored and helped in the workplace too. So, when you're not there full time, there are disadvantages. But I think it's now more the norm than the exception, and that's going to be the tune for 2024.
Only one small slice of companies mandate a set number of in-office days. Most don't track badge-ins. Most don't use monitoring software at home. That's not Big Brother. That's big boy girl companies. They're actually treating employees like adults. Where there are apple to apple comparisons, differences are small. Many report no difference at all whenever it comes to productivity in office, hybrid, or remote. The real break of work from home is, maybe you guessed it, feasibility. You can't plate a risotto through the Zoom screen. You could, but they would be very disappointed. So knowledge work flexes, but hands-on work remains hands-on work in person. But you still can be flexible. But let's look at the hybrid scorecard, aka what to measure. If you want hybrid to work, stop counting the chairs and count decision latency. Idea to decision. How long does it take? Are there slowdown areas? If so, find the root cause and let's get the solution. And it's not going back into the office if you're remote. It's more about processes and structure. Cycle time, PR to merge, tickets to get done, beginning to end. This is where we're measuring how long does it take for us to ideate, create that decision, turn that project into a plan, and then execute it to see the outcomes. That's your cycle time. That's what you focus on. That's what you measure to see if you are productive. This one is talking about cross-team touch points. Your weak ties and connections to employees versus your strong ties and connections. If you're in the office, how are you having your meetings? How are you making sure that employee X knows that employee Y is working on a similar task and they should probably work together? But even on a more emotional level, how can you find ways to connect employees that are connected through hobbies or interest? It's not just an in-person thing. At Grapevine, we have a robust and in-depth employee profile that shows your employees' skills, the hobbies and interest, and even their previous experience. So you can go to our Connect or Employee Directory feature and search what you're looking for and find a person who has that. And then you simply just send them a Figgy chat, our messaging system. And then you can connect through an instant meet, which is a video conferencing setup spontaneously. So how are you really measuring these ties together? Think about that. Meeting load versus docs shipped. Described as less sync and more substance. This isn't about Grapevine, but it is a big use case for us. Many companies, especially remote, hybrid, or distributed organizations, multi-located, multi-time zones, love Grapevine because you don't always have to be synchronized, meaning meeting on a video conference or sitting at your computer chatting. You can give updates asynchronously. You can create the information that becomes available to the entire company where they can self-serve themselves to go back to, number one, decision latency and cycle time, actually. If the information is in the system and your employees can access it, it doesn't matter where they're located or what time zone they're working in. So you have less meetings, but you continue to have the company aligned and moving forward. So that's the hybrid scorecard that you can leverage to really track if you're doing this the right way. Now, the other part of this is if you are going into the office, think about it like this. Make the office earn the commute. Is it worth your employees' time to commute from their home to the office? A lot of complaints that we hear from return to office or people who have to go into the office is, I do not want to drive to the office just to sit on Zoom or Teams calls. And that's what a lot of people are doing. So use office days for what home can't do.
Imagine a workplace where every in-person moment counts, where you're not coming in only to sit on Zoom calls every day, where everybody gets why they've made the commute and comes out of the day energized. In the next few minutes, I'll share 4 times when companies should work to get people together in the same room. Hybrid work is good, but hybrid work can be great when leaders understand the essential benefit of building in-person moments that matter. First, let's talk about quarterly team gatherings. Teams these days are often distributed across cities, not just buildings. Getting them together 3 or 4 times a year, blending deep work on business goals with ample time for social connection makes a real difference. You'll accelerate alignment and build deeper relationships that are essential to great work. Notably, Atlassian researched this and found with their own data, employees who met with their teams in person saw a 27% boost in connection that lasted 4 to 5 months. That number gets even higher for new hires and recent graduates. And it's got more benefit than random in-office encounters. Harvard Business School professor Raj Chowdhury studied team gatherings at Zapier, a remote-first company. He found that leaders need to design these meetings to build diverse connections. Without proper planning, people tend to meet in their usual groups, birds of a feather flocking together, which negates some of the benefits of having the in-person meeting in the first place. Fixing that can be as simple as mixing up the carpool at a dinner to get people to meet people that they wouldn't otherwise run into. The second key moment to make in-person is onboarding and training events. Making these in-person provides hybrid workers, especially people who are spread out across cities, with a great opportunity to build relationships with people from across the company. Microsoft also found that when new hires spend a few days together with their managers and teams, it drives higher satisfaction and deeper engagement. Notably, they found that being primarily in the office wasn't better. In fact, new hires were less productive when they were in the office 4 or 5 days a week. Training events held in person are also an opportunity to rekindle those weak ties and build new ones, the casual connections that help companies thrive. Third, we've always got those big cross-functional teams and major projects going on. An in-person kickoff meeting for those teams are particularly beneficial. Holding that kickoff in person allows us to accelerate connections with new coworkers while you're getting aligned on project goals and roles for everybody on the project. Those connections are essential for building trust among team members. But don't try to jam too much into those 2 to 3 days. Leaders need to budget time for social activities, an outdoor walk and talk in pairs, a quirky city tour, or volunteer time together. Fourth, functions need to have their own rhythms. There's no one-size-fits-all in a large-scale organization. Sales leaders with regional teams need to think about anchor days. On Tuesdays, we come together to review pipeline in the morning and to do training in the afternoon. Product development teams that are more distributed might have anchor weeks. The week at the start of the month or the quarter where they review progress from last month and they plan the month ahead, but also have a few meals together and do some team building activities. Leaders need to engage their teams on what works for them. One important note, you should really expect that those in-person days are your least productive. Please don't jam them full of meetings. Make sure there's ample time to connect. As face-to-face interactions become less frequent, especially in distributed organizations, their value increases proportionately. Seeing the same people every day, it's a grind. Seeing them once a week, once a month, or a quarter, that's special and can be energizing. Bringing distributed teams together for moments that matter fosters crucial bonds, and it drives organizational success. The challenge and opportunity before all of us is to reimagine our offices, not as rows of desks for heads down work, but as dynamic collaboration hubs.
Pair work, real-time decisions, mentoring, trust, publish anchor days with purpose. Write async norms so updates don't vanish in chat. Again, Grapevine is a perfect use case for this. Those asynchronous updates, that asynchronous documentation, it can live in Grapevine and you can find it later. So hybrid isn't a debate anymore. It's a design problem that needs a solution, and the only solution for that is to be intentional. That's the story. Remote work went from hot take to standard operating procedure. If you need a calm center for updates and knowledge so hybrid doesn't become chaotic, that's why we are building Grapevine. That's the Future of Work weekly report. Thanks so much for watching. Make sure to like, comment, and subscribe so you get updated on every episode that we post about the Future of Work weekly report, the feature highlights, and anything that we have coming in the future. See you next time.